A very fine day to you all. This is Dr. John Whitman Ray. I'm speaking to you from the Hideaway near Nerang, near Brisbane, Australia, on the 25th of August, 1994. The purpose of this particular tape is a very informal discussion on what we will call the Ray program. This is the necessary nutritional saturation program that will be required for effectiveness in regeneration of the body and the application of body electronics, which is what we will call the science of bodily regeneration. I'd like to just go through things with the understanding that a little knowledge is a very, very dangerous thing. This is not to be used as a diagnostic or prescription used for any of you who are listening to this, but this is a source of knowledge to give you a little understanding of the tailor-made programs that will be done for you by somebody who is trained in the iris sclera integrated diagnosis. The iris of the eye is the window to the soul. The iris, shall we say the eye is the window to the soul. The iris is a small part of the eye. The sclera is the white part that surrounds the iris. In our work, we use both the iris and the sclera to give an idea as to what the conditions are within the body, and we thereby diagnose the conditions clearly, and we tailor-make a program for the individual involved. The tailor-made program consists of two basic parts: the general program of nutritional needs, and secondly, a flow sheet for body electronics, which is the application of the point-holding system, which is systematically prioritized for the individual's needs. What we're going to do today on the Ray program is talk only about the nutritional program and other supplementary items that would fit in with the nutritional program. I would like to use the iris of the eye as a means of guide to the nutritional program that we're going to present today. When we're looking at the iris of the eye, we first of all look at the condition of the lens of the eye and find out whether or not we have cataracts, or we look to see whether or not there is a light reflection out of the lens of the eye, which would indicate a hardening of the lens and a slow fogginess of the lens, which would take place over a period of time, causing this hardening of the lens. So the person will have to read something, shall we say, at arm's length, or their night vision begins to be impaired, and they can't see clearly when they're reading. Things are distorted. Oftentimes this is the beginning of cataracts, and we call it the glycalization of the lens for the most part. Now remember, I told you earlier, a little knowledge is a very dangerous thing. So what I'm going to just point out is some of the things that we deal with. You have to realize that on a short tape, you can't get the full picture, which would be a lifelong study to even get the beginning of a full picture. But we'll try to point out some of the necessary features that you do need to know, which are the most common things that we see. Now, oftentimes when you have the lens of the eye becomes clouded, we have to use basically a full nutritional program as outlined on this tape. But specifically, we have to understand what's going on in the lens of the eye. It is usually not all the time, but usually a glucose chemical-based configuration, where chemically you have these very complex compounds that are glucose-based, which begin to form in the lens of the eye, causing this cloudiness to occur. This is called the glycalization of the lens. It is due to the improper use of glucose, where the body is unable to assimilate it properly, unable to digest it properly, unable to utilize it properly. And this usually stems from the pancreas area. Now, if you look at the pancreas area in the iridology chart, you will find that it is roughly a 180-degree reflex to the eyes. And we know that whenever you have a diabetic condition, that you will begin to have serious eye problems. Now, there are several reasons for this. Not only the reflex angles from the pancreas to the eyes, but also from the nutritional factors which are affected by the lack of digestive enzymes from the pancreas. So, technically, what we have to do is we have to get, first of all, the blood supply restored back to the iris of the eye. And we use niacin to bring this about, to get the nerve supply, shall we say, the nerve supply is one thing we have to deal with. This will be done with what we call body electronics. We will also have to deal with the circulation into the eye, and the niacin will act as a vasodilator to open up the capillaries where the blood will flow into the surrounding tissues around the lens of the eye, and then the blood will slowly move into the area carrying what we call amylase enzyme, which is taken as a supplementation to the diet, and the amylase will slowly digest out the undigested carbohydrate, the glucose chemical configurations in the lens of the eye, and the lens of the eye will slowly lose this cloudiness, and suddenly the eyesight will return. The person's night vision will improve. The flexibility of the lens will change for the good, so that a person will be able to see properly and will no longer require their glasses. We've had many cases where after the use of body electronics along with the the nutritional program, that the eye clears up entirely and the sight is returned. Even cataracts dissolve and the eye comes right. Now, after we take a look at the eye and we see the different aspects of the positioning of the pupil, the contraction of the pupil in response to light, and we take a good look at that. We then move on to what we call the pupillary ruff or the pupillary frill, which is directly around the pupil. This represents the lining of the stomach. It also represents the central nervous system. Now, oftentimes, when we get into iridology studies, we see the color of the pupillary ruff, which for a number of people are quite dark. It should be kind of a nice, kind of an orangish, reddish color, brownish color, orangish, reddish brown, to where it shows a good, healthy pupillary ruff. If it's black or dark, it shows that there is a degeneration quality there that needs correction. Now, many years ago, I spent a great deal of time in prayer and meditation, learning quite a bit about how to communicate to plants and how to receive their return communication. And I was praying about herbs and what herbs would be the specific herbs for the improvement of the central nervous system. At that time, I lived part of the time in Maui, Hawaii, and we had some beautiful property there that was very conducive to healing. One day I was out wandering around praying about this central nervous system problem and trying to get in contact with the understanding as to what herb would be utilized for the central nervous system. And suddenly I heard a voice call my name. I turned around, there was nobody there. There was a plant there wrapped around a pole, which then introduced itself to me and told me how I had been praying about this central nervous system requirement for which herb would help the central nervous system be improved. And I was really astounded at this moment of communication. This plant went ahead and introduced itself to me, explained it was called the sensitive leaf, or sensitive plant, and it told me that the leaf was the specific herb for the central nervous system. Well, I was very excited about this, and I promptly went to look for my kahuna teacher. And he eventually came, and he sat down cross-legged in front of the plant, and he said that from his teachings he knew nothing about this plant as it was an invader into the Hawaiian Islands. But he checked it out, and he said, yes, the leaf is for the central nervous system, and the little violet flower is for the brain, and the roots are for the intestinal tract. Now, this is quite a revelation for me. Anyway, you take about a handful of these leaves from the sensitive plant, make a strong yellow tea out of it. It's very, very quite tasty, and you take a cup of that in the morning and a cup in the evening, and you'll find that the nervous system begins to be improved through the body. Now, in the islands, you have a lot of diabetes, where there's a lot of neuropathy, numbness to the legs, a lot of blackness to the skin, where there's no circulation to the skin. And some of the older folks who take a cup of the sensitive leaf tea in the morning and the evening, all of a sudden their blackness in the legs start going away, the circulation returns to the numb hands and feet, and the body begins to heal properly and quickly. Now, so consequently what I'd like to do is first of all recommend a cup in the morning and a cup in the evening of your sensitive leaf tea, which will help immensely in your central nervous system disorders. Now with that, the black around the pupillary frill will gradually turn dark brown and then lighter brown and then gradually to this orangish-reddish color. And it'll take a while to have that happen, especially as the eye color changes and the pigments disappears through the program of what we call nutrient saturation and body electronics, which brings a person into a regenerative condition through what we call the healing crises, which we'll discuss later. We'd like to point out also that we don't want you to take hot drinks or cold drinks because the heat destroys the lining of the stomach, the esophagus. Cold drinks does likewise, and this affects then the pupillary rough, which in turn does represent the central nervous system. Now, when the central nervous system begins to heal properly, you'll find that the hair color will slowly start coming back to its natural color. You'll find that the skin will lose a lot of its wrinkles and come back to its full middle-aged perfection over a gradual period of time. So, with this in mind, I want to stress the importance of that of healing from the inside out, and we have to treat the lining of the stomach properly, which, if this is destroyed through any wrong application of food taken internally, we'll have to go back and correct that, so the body will heal. The body does heal from the inside out. Now, the next thing we look at is what we call the Zone 1 ring. And in nearly every single person that I have checked over the last 45 years in looking at eyeballs, they have this Zone 1 ring showing that they have an enzyme deficiency in their body. The cooking of food destroys the enzymes, and this creates an enzyme drain on the body. And this gradually results in the body being depleted of enzymes where it begins to age and loses its vitality. The food enzymes, which are a combination of lipase to digest fat, amylase to digest carbohydrate, protease to digest protein, and a number of other enzymes which have various functions in the need for the human body. These things, when taken as a food supplement and taken internally, will help to not only digest the food, but to correct long-standing enzyme deficiencies which have occurred over years of eating cooked food. I'd like to go over with you for just a moment the 12 points on enzymes, which is recorded in the Patient's Guide to Body Electronics. This is available from all those people who are involved in body electronics. Now, everyone should have one of these on hand because it explains in detail about the enzymes and minerals and other nutrients which are basic to the human body, basic needs that we have. First of all, enzymes rule over all other nutrients. And enzymes are responsible for nearly every facet of life and health and far outweigh the importance of every other nutrient. The enzymes are needed to help control all mental and physical functions. Each body cell has in excess of 100,000 enzyme particles necessary for the metabolic processes. Number 3, the enzymes cannot function properly without the presence of other substances which are known as coenzymes. Coenzymes are minerals, vitamins, and proteins. Number 4, once the enzymes have completed their appointed task, they are destroyed. For life to continue, you must have a constant enzyme supply, which requires the continual replacement of enzymes. 5. Enzymes are found in all living cells, including raw foods, or those that are cooked at a temperature lower than 116 degrees Fahrenheit. The enzymes, of course, begin to perish when the temperature increases beyond your 116 degrees Fahrenheit. The degree of enzyme destruction is a function of time and temperature. Now, the enzymes are primarily proteins, yet enzymes need amino acids for normal function. The hormones are primarily proteins, which require interaction with enzymes to regulate the body processes. Now, I'd like to speak about this for a moment. The cooking of food above 110 degrees Fahrenheit destroys 2 of your 8 essential amino acids. These 2 are trypsin and these 2 amino acids are tryptophan and lysine. These are destroyed at 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and so if you just warm the food up, these 2 of the 8 essential amino acids are destroyed. Now, tryptophan, for example, is needed to help form what we call a material called serotonin, which is a precursor to melatonin, which is a hormonal secretion from the pineal gland, which controls the entire bodily rhythm, beginning with the pineal gland. Now, all of these amino acids that we need in our body, we need 20 basically for an adult, 22 for a baby. All 20 amino acids all come from the essential amino acids. In other words, you have 8 basic amino acids. These are used to manufacture 12 more for a total of 20. If one of these amino acids, one of the 8 basic amino acids, is destroyed by heat, then it makes it difficult to manufacture the other 12 amino acids, and so we become deficient in protein just through the cooking process. Now, many of our hormones have to have all 20 amino acids to function properly. Some require 18, some require 17, some require 15 and 14, and so on. But they all need all 8 basic amino acids. So people who eat cooked food on a regular basis will be deficient in their protein, and therefore they will be hormone deficient. So if you have to have your amino acids as as part of the enzyme transport system in the body, and you're eating cooked food, then you don't have the enzyme transport system. It breaks down. The amino acids will not be there. The enzymes will not be there because they are also destroyed by your heat. So we have problems. Now, this is one of the strongest cases that I know for eating fresh and raw food, which are grown properly without your insecticides and without any of your chemical sprays and so on, that are very harmful to the body and often are carcinogenic. Let's go on. Now, enzymes are primarily proteins, yet the enzymes need the amino acids for normal function. Hormones are primarily proteins, which require interaction with enzymes to regulate the body processes. So the protein here is very important. Now, let's go on to number 7. The enzymes aid in transforming the proteins into amino acids. The protein does not perform its function unless broken down into amino acids. The amino acids can be considered as an enzyme carrier whose function is to transport enzymes to various functions in the body. Number 8, enzymes help to extract the chelated minerals from the food. The enzymes transform the chelated minerals into an alkaline detoxifying agent, which combines with acid, cellular waste, and toxic settlements within the body, thus neutralizing them and preparing them for elimination. Now, let me explain something. I've had people who have been on the Ray program, they say, and 5 months later, when I go back and take a look at their eyes, the dark spots in their eyes haven't changed. They still have a certain number of black spots in one eye and a certain number of black spots on the other eye, and they haven't changed one iota. I ask them what they've been doing. They say they've been following the program. I ask them, have you been taking your fresh and raw food? Oh, no, I can't stand that rabbit food. And as a result, they're not getting the enzymes. So when they take the enzymes in the fresh and raw food, then the enzymes and the minerals work together to remove the toxic settlements from the tissues, and then the black pigmentations or brown pigmentations gradually dissolve and completely go away in the iris of the eye over a period of time. In one case, all of the black pigmentation in one eye disappeared but 2. They all turned brown or disappeared entirely. The same thing with the other eye. There's still 2 little black spots left. All this took place in 1 month's time as soon as the person started shifting to a fresh and raw diet. Now, I think that I better tell you that the pigment of the eye changes over a period of time. It doesn't matter what race you are, it doesn't matter where you come from. The dark chocolate brown eyes slowly turn to a light brown and then slowly turn into a greenish color around the outside of the iris of the eye. The brown usually stays around the center of the eye and is the last thing to go. The eyes gradually turn into a hazel color and then eventually into a blue. It might take a number of years for this to happen, but it does happen in all cases. The brown pigment spots, the black pigment spots, which indicate toxic settlements in various tissues of the body, totally disappear over a period of time. And this might be new information for you, but nevertheless, on hundreds of thousands of people who are on the Ray program throughout North America, Europe, and elsewhere, they're getting the changes as I'm describing to you. Okay, number 9. The enzymes use minerals to create an even balance of dissolved solids both inside and outside the cells, thus equalizing both internal and external pressures, which we will call osmotic equilibrium. 10. Vitamins, or vitamins if you're down under, are required as coenzymes to work with enzymes in every chemical reaction in every cell of the body. Without minerals extracted from the food by enzymes, the vitamins would be unable to perform their function. Now, how many people pump vitamins into their body? The vitamins help a person feel good for a while, and then it kind of eases off, and they don't feel as good as they used to. The reason for this is they're not taking minerals in the body. They're not taking enzymes into the body. For the vitamins to be assimilated properly and utilized in the body, you have to have minerals and you have to have enzymes. Number 11, an enzyme deficiency must be carefully considered as a possible precursor of bodily imbalance and consequent disease symptoms. 12, enzymes are therefore justified as a supplemental dietary substance which need is parallel with mineral, vitamin, and all other supportive therapies. Now, one of the things that we need to look at regarding our digestion is that most people, especially older people when they get over 35 and 40, they have a problem with their digestion. And I want to talk to you about one of the main things which will help with the digestion, and that is the papaya, which in some areas is known as the pawpaw. And I'd like to read to you my 12 points on mature green pawpaw, or papaya. 1. The mature green papaya, I might add that the mature green is just when it starts to turn ripe. It has reached its maturity, and it still is full of your white sap. When you cut the skin or pull it off the vine, you have this white sap flowing out of it. That white sap is papain. That is the number one plant proteolytic enzyme in the world. It is full of a proteolytic enzyme which is used for digesting food. Oftentimes they slice the green pawpaw as a meat tenderizer. They put it on little warts to help dissolve warts away and so on. This material here is very powerful. Now, this mature green papaya contains an excellent source of enzymes, minerals, and vitamins. The mature green papaya contains more vitamin A than carrots, more vitamin C than oranges, abundant vitamin B factors, and vitamin E. The mature green papaya also contains a complex of enzymes that help digest proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. Now, the mature green papaya should be used totally with skin, flesh, and seeds. The papaya should be chemical-free. The papain in the entire pawpaw observed as a white sap or fluid is not found in the ripe pawpaw. That's due to the fact here that the enzymes have turned into a sugar. Now, what you do is you blend this mature green pawpaw with other fresh fruits, even your ripe pawpaw. Some people put in avocado, some people put in your coconut juice, and so on. And this makes a splendid flavored smoothie drink, which when consumed at the time of blending will be full of enzymes which will be of maximum benefit to the consistent user. I would like to point out here that it would be improper to use the pawpaw after it's been, say, in the refrigerator for an hour or two, because after the blending, the enzymes go immediately to work, and this is why that should be consumed at the time of the blending. Number 2, papain is the principal and most active enzyme in the mature green papaya. The papain possesses a very powerful digestive action which is superior to pepsin and pancreatin. Now, the changes in intestinal alkalinity or acidity do not interfere with the unique digestive activity of papain. Papain breaks down your meat fibers, thereby rendering the nutrients available to the digestive process. This emphasizes the need for papain in the diet of meat eaters as well as vegetarians, and I might add, for older people who have a lot of problem digesting their food. 3. Papain, one of the most powerful plant proteolytic enzymes, is a catalytic agent that will act in protein digestion in an acid, alkaline, or neutral medium. Now, my friends, this is of vital importance for all of those with enzyme deficiency problems, as well as for those with low hydrochloric acid output in the stomach. Remember, the pepsin which is produced in the stomach required for protein digestion is activated only in an acid medium. This requires a healthy output of hydrochloric acid, which is insufficient in most people. Now, due to the powerful proteolytic action of papain, a more active protein digestant than pepsin, a major digestive problem for most people will be helped by the daily ingestion of your mature green papaya. Number 4. A major problem in our diets today is that we only partially digest the protein foods we consume. This is due in part to the insufficient hydrochloric acid output by the stomach. These partially digested proteins help attribute to mucoprotein buildup in the body. This is due to the undigested protein molecules making their way into the system and eventually finding their way into the interstitial spaces which exist between the cells and the capillaries and accumulating there as a mucoprotein, which is a polysaccharide or carbohydrate protein combination. This mucoprotein is also known as your trapped plasma protein. Now, the proteolytic action of papain can digest the protein we consume so that the accumulation of trapped plasma protein can be prevented. The accumulation of mucoprotein in the interstitial spaces and lymphatic system is the basic cause of lymphatic congestion. 5. Mature green papaya possesses antiseptic qualities and helps prevent the abnormal proliferation of undesirable bacteria in the intestines. The pH of the intestines is then kept normalized with the addition of Acidophilus, which aids in normalizing the intestinal flora. Papain, found abundantly in the mature green papaya, or pawpaw, acts as a powerful mucus and pus solvent. The papain helps to cleanse the tissues and intestinal walls of all waste matter in the form of excessive mucus and dead tissue. The papain in the whole papaya or in the mature green papaya is harmless to living tissue and is a must for the maintenance of health in the intestinal tract. 7. In scientific studies using papain as a digestant, it has been established that proteins are actually chemically transformed into all of the various amino acids that are so vital to human nutrition. Papain has the property to transform albuminoids into peptones in either an acid, alkaline, or neutral medium, making it superior to pepsin. 8. Arginine is one of the essential amino acids. It is not normally produced within the body, but must be obtained as a component of a few foods such as eggs and brewer's yeast. These foods must be eaten with some regularity if the reproductive organs are to function properly. However, when papain is allowed to act upon many kinds of proteins, it has a singular distinctive power of converting a portion of the protein mass to arginine even in the intestine. 9. This unique ability of papain to break down protein and to convert a portion of it into arginine is extremely important because arginine in its natural form has been found to influence the production of the human growth hormone, or what we call HGH. Now, HGH is produced in the pituitary gland and is directly responsible for DNA and RNA replication, as well as synthesis in liver, muscle, cartilage, and adipose or fat tissues. The arginine ingested in connection with exercise has been found to raise the production of HGH significantly. Now, this HGH helps to increase muscle tone and decrease the amount of body fat. The arginine has also been found to inhibit the growth of human breast cancer cells in test tube studies. Number 10. The papain in the mature green papaya works to break down various protein foods so that the individual amino acids are produced, and autointoxicating or other undesirable undigested substances are avoided. High blood pressure, constipation, arthritis, epilepsy, and diabetes are only a few of the ailments aggravated by incomplete protein digestion. While the presence of papain may not always prevent these abnormalities, it has the power to help regulate these abnormalities through proper digestion. 11. The mature green papaya contains several enzymes in addition to the papain used for protein digestion. Carbohydrates and fat digestion can be accomplished by the enzymes found in the mature green papaya. These papaya enzymes have the ability to infiltrate the tissues. By this means, it can help dissolve injured and hardened tissues, thus tending to alleviate hardening of the arteries. In scientific studies using proteolytic enzymes, it has been fully established that the immune system is greatly enhanced by the ingestion of proteolytic enzymes. Papain is the #1 plant proteolytic enzyme, thus placing it in a very important position to help maintain optimum health through an active immune system that is often destroyed by toxic mercury from silver amalgam fillings, fluoride additives to the water, toothpaste and children's mouthwash, as well as chemical sprays such as malathion and paraquat. 12. Papaya is the only known food containing papain, the active principal enzyme in mature green papaya. Remember, it digests protein thoroughly and frees the amino acids for quick absorption by the body. Since it acts impartially in acid, neutral, and alkaline mediums, it is extremely valuable for the aged or anyone who has weak digestion due to enzyme deficiencies that have developed over the years. These 12 points establish the mature green papaya as a superior food to ensure proper digestive activity. Now, one of the important things that we have in our needs for digestion is what we call acidophilus. Now, I'd like to read to you from the 12 points on Lactobacillus acidophilus, which is in the Patient's Guide to Body Electronics. 1. The Lactobacillus bacteria are a group of aerobic, long, slender rods which produce large amounts of lactic acid in the fermentation of carbohydrates. 2. The daily dietary intake of your Lactobacillus acidophilus helps to maintain proper balance of healthy bacteria in the intestinal tract. Now, some problems from the lack of healthy bacteria in the intestinal tract due to the proliferation of what we call unhealthy bacteria are constipation, irritated colon, diarrhea, acne, eczema, fever blisters, and so on. Now, number 3. The Lactobacillus acidophilus is essential to help synthesize and assimilate necessary vitamins in the intestinal tract. 4. Lactobacillus acidophilus has been found to help lower cholesterol levels in the bloodstream. 5. Lactobacillus acidophilus has been known to help detoxify toxic and hazardous material found in the diet. 6. The Lactobacillus acidophilus aid in producing enzymes which help the digestibility of the food. 7. The Lactobacillus acidophilus improves the digestibility of feed for animals and has been tested and is used extensively as a feed additive. 8. Now listen very carefully to this one, please. The Lactobacillus acidophilus helps maintain the pH level of the intestine by producing lactic acid from carbohydrates, thus preventing an increase of the pH, which could then allow the proliferation of sensitive microbes, which could produce various toxic substances which are harmful to the health of the body. Now, many people take drugs and what we call oral antibiotics, And these so-called oral antimicrobial drugs have a very definite negative effect on the amount of Acidophilus in the intestinal tract. Now, any good medical doctor will tell you that if they give you a drug or some antibiotic, they must also put Acidophilus along with that quite extensively in large amounts to make sure that the pH level of the intestine is preserved through the activity of the Lactobacillus acidophilus, that assimilation of the food may take place and the person's health does not suffer. Now, I'd like to read to you number 9 from the 12 points on Lactobacillus acidophilus. The Lactobacillus acidophilus helps to replace normal, healthy bacteria in the gastrointestinal tract after oral antibiotics have been administered. The oral antimicrobial drugs suppress the drug-susceptible components of the fecal flora, which is the Lactobacillus acidophilus, and thus allow, through an increased pH, drug-resistant strains to become predominant, resulting in loss of benefits derived from normal bacterial activity in the gut. Number 10. There is no known toxicity from ingesting too large a dose of the Lactobacillus acidophilus. 11. The Lactobacillus acidophilus in the intestinal tract are small in number compared to other organisms. It is therefore essential that the human body be assured a maintenance of the proper level of this particular culture by daily ingestion of Lactobacillus acidophilus. 12. Lactobacillus acidophilus is therefore justified as a supplementary dietary substance, especially in these days when stress, uncertainty, and unhealthy pollution of air, water, and food predominate. Now, this acidophilus is extremely important. A lot of people take your soured or clabbered milk, your yogurt, and so on, but if you don't have the proper amount of acidophilus to start with, it cannot be established in the intestine. So to begin with, we have to have a large amount of acidophilus given to the body so that it will function properly. Now, the acidophilus should be taken with the meal so that it will ride through on food particles into the small intestine. Otherwise, it is digested in the acidity of the stomach, and it should not be taken between meals. It should be taken right directly with the meal. Now, I might add a couple of things here. For most people have a low hydrochloric acid output in the stomach. Now, when you take your food into the stomach, the hydrochloric acid is stimulated to be secreted from the walls of the stomach. This lowers the pH factor below a 4.0, which then renders all enzyme activity ineffective. In other words, the enzymes stop digesting their food when the pH falls before 4.0. Now, the pH has to go down below a 2 or 3 pH in order for the pepsin to be activated to help to digest the protein, because the protein will not be affected or broken down by the pepsin unless the pH drops down somewhere below 2 and 3. So now if the pH factor is unable to drop down that low, then your protein is not broken down by your pepsin, which also originates from the walls of the stomach. Therefore, this slows things down, so you have a tremendous fermentation factor taking place, where you have the fermentation taking place in the undigested protein in the intestines and the colon. Therefore, sometimes we have to have a little bit of extra digestion to help out. So the betaine hydrochloride is a supplement that can be taken about a half an hour before each meal. And this lowers the pH factor so the pepsin is activated. Now, when the food goes through the pyloric valve into the upper part of the small intestine, which we call the duodenum, or duodenum, it's pronounced both ways, then the hydrochloric acid is neutralized by an alkaline secretion, and the pH factor rises again, and the enzymes which were rendered inactive in the stomach are reactivated again and continue with their digestive process in the intestines. Now that's something I think we do need to look at, because the